All right, guys, we are starting Whiteboard Wednesday, and we just hit millionaire status officially today. So I'm going to shed some light into that. And also, we're going to be talking about context of 10% returns. So let's get started, guys. Today was a big day. We hit millionaire status at, right when I woke up, I realized the market had a really good day yesterday, or a decent day at least. And so I knew we were teetering around that line. And so I checked, and boom, we had it. We knocked off the millionaire status goal. I'm not going to get too much into that tonight. I want to talk about the context of 10% returns, probably something not as fun, but something very important. It's also a big reason of how we got to where we got. So I'm going to do an entire IG Live, probably next Wednesday, on how we got to millionaire status, because obviously I wasn't prepared to put that all together tonight. But for the idea of tonight, guys, context of 10% returns is a very, very important concept. So when you're investing, a lot of influencers out there or people in general will use the assumption of that market has 10% returns, blah, 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 10%, 10%, 10%. And it doesn't really quite make sense because sure, if you were in the S&P 500 in 1926 all the way until 2022 or so, just let's say present day, you would have a 10% return if you were the S&P 500, but you're not. And likely you have other investments and likely you have other things going on. So I really want to talk about what this means and how to actually get 10% returns. In fact, can you even get 10% returns? That's a big question. So I want to talk to you guys tonight about specifically everything that goes into that number when people just randomly say, yeah, you can assume a 10% return. You can assume an 8% return. Let's talk about that. So first things first, guys. 6 of the last 95 years were 8 to 12% returns. 6. That is literally less than 6%. If you can do good math in your head, is less than 6% of the years over the last 95 years were 8 to 12% returns. So in any given year, you're not going to see 8 to 12% returns, specifically 10%. Hardly ever. It's very rare you're actually going to see that number in any given year. And guys, feel free to ask questions in the question mark box. I'm going to flip around and talk to you guys here and answer all your questions in a second. Second thing, this is not safe. If you want a 10% return, it's not necessarily a safe return. I think there's a lot of gurus online that like to say, this 10% is boring, this is safe. That's a total lie, and I'm going to show you guys some stats as to why that is. But this is not a safe return. If you want 10% returns, you're going to have to experience a lot of risk and a lot of volatility that you have to be aware of. I'll leave that open. So the other thing, guys, is the average investor had a 3.6% return from 2001 to 2020. A 3.6% return. So is 10% that big? Is it that bad? Is it that boring? Is it that safe? Absolutely not. In fact, it's 3x of what the average investor gets. So from 2001 to 2020, 3.6%. The average market return was 9.5. So the 10% and the 9.5 are in relation to each other. So a lot of times when people are saying the average market, they equate the average market with the average investor, and that's totally wrong. The average investor is not the average market. And that's a huge misconception. So a lot of people say, it sucks to be the average market. And I look at it like, because I know this stuff and I've educated myself on it, is being the average market, you're superior to the average investor. You have 3x the returns of the average investor if you were just the market. But people don't want to be the average market because they don't know the education behind this. So the people that are doing the stock picking, the trading, thinking they're all smart and better than the average person are going to be the average investor at the end of the day. That's just the way it works. Averages work for a reason. It's very hard to beat the market. For you to get above 10% returns consistently annualized over the long period, it's not going to happen. It's very hard to do. The people that do this are on Wall Street, and they have billions of dollars in algorithms. In fact, it might not even be people. It could be algorithmic computers doing the work to get the better returns. So you got to be careful with that, guys. So let's look at an example of what the average investor is versus the average market return. So if you are the average investor, and you're investing $2,000 per month, no one say it's too much. I'm just using a number. $2,000 a month is the average, is what somebody's investing here. If you're the average investor from 2001 to 2020, you would have a $725,000 balance at the end of those 20 years. If you are just the average market, you would have $1.4 million, double what the average investor has over a 20-year period. The average market's not boring. Index funds are not boring. If anything, index funds aren't even safe to an extent. You have to diversify as well, which we will talk about in a second. It's more than the goal of wealthy people isn't just to get the highest returns possible. It's to mitigate risk. That's a massive difference of wealthy versus poor people trying to hit the lottery. A huge difference. We're not here to get, sometimes, maybe the goal is not to get 10% returns, in fact. Maybe the goal is not to beat the market. Maybe the goal is to build a consistent, very, let's just say, aggressive, but at the same time somewhat safer than the market returns. And the goal isn't ultimately just to hit the jackpot. That's not how you invest. Investing is not hitting a lottery. It's not getting rich overnight. It's taking the long, detailed route that I took over 7 years to hit millionaire status. It's the fundamentals played out over time, in action, automated, just like I talk about all the time. That's how you build real millionaire worth and real wealth long term. It's not get rich quick stuff, guys. This is not a casino. If you want to do that, go to the sports betting booth or go to the casino in Vegas. That's how you're going to have fun. Another thing, guys, is volatility is a massive concern for somebody that wants 10%. If you're going to get this 10% return, you better get ready to buckle up and get on a roller coaster because volatility is going to be insane. So the difference between somebody like this that's, let's just say 100% S&P in the market, and somebody that's in a, let's say a risk parity type deal like all-weather portfolio like Ray Dalio has, are going to be vastly different from a volatility perspective. And so when the volatility, here's some stats, guys. So stocks drop 10% once every year, 20% every 5 years, 30% every decade, and 50% a few times per century. So can you imagine what's happening right now is actually not that abnormal? Everyone's going to say this is the worst stock market ever. I can't believe it. It's because, guys, as humans, we have a very limited time frame on this world, but we got to really expand history and understand history to understand the context of what's happening right now. So what's happening right now is not abnormal. Sure, there's some things you could point to that haven't happened before per se, but again, these things happen in history. Does not repeat itself, it rhymes, and that's what's happening right now with the market. It's just different, but this stuff happens. Another thing, as long as you own quality, you diversify, and diversification oftentimes might take you under that 10% mark. You have a good time horizon and you have good cash flow, you're going to be totally fine. That's the key. That's the key to build wealth. The max drawdown, or the highest year ever, guys, in the S&P was a 52% return. The highest ever. That's insanity. The lowest, though, was 43%. And the fact of the matter is that the market will go up and down crazy amounts, guys. And I'm going to show you guys some more stats here soon as to what I actually mean by that. Because most years have some downturn in them. It doesn't mean they end up negative, but they have a lot of downturns and a lot of upturns. There's a lot of volatility. It's going to get rocky. That's normal. You got to get used to it. You got to understand this stuff if you want to build real wealth. And if you keep getting scared every time the market does this, you need to work with a professional to either educate yourself or handle your portfolio and pay just sucker up to the AUM fee you're going to pay or whatever advisor fee you're going to pay, because it might be worth it at the end of the day if it's going to save you, even if you pay them 1% returns, or 1% AUM, if you're going to panic sell and sell for 10% losses, it might make sense to use them. Okay, so again, time is the biggest wealth building factor. I have a YouTube video on this that goes into great detail. Guys, time is the biggest thing. I don't care about my returns necessarily as much as I do time. My main focus is how much money can I get from a contribution perspective and how much time can I have on my side to then accomplish my goals. The return is fantastic. If you're an index fund investor, the 10% return that they talk about, let's just say you get 8% return to be safe, is absolutely fantastic. Or else you'll be the average investor who gets 3.6%, which sucks. So let's stay away from being the average investor and let's learn how to actually build real wealth long term. So let's look at the difference of time and how much this matters, right? $1 million, this is 7-figure differences, guys. $500 a month invested from age 25 to 65. Yes, I'm using a 40-year example. That person will build $1.745 million in that portfolio. However, if you wait 10 years, and I talk to my students all the time about this, of how important it is to get into the market ASAP and stay in the market. Not be in and out of the market, not, be up when everyone's exuberant about the market and sentiment's high and you're loving everything everyone's saying on the news about the market. That's when you're investing and you're actually getting lower returns at that point in time. But if you wait till the market, if you continue to invest while the market's going down and also at the bottom, you're going to experience the best returns of all. You're not going to time the market. It's not possible. It doesn't matter if it was possible, guys, and people were doing this consistently, there would be people that were multi-billionaires from trading alone. It doesn't happen. If you waited 10 years, guys, you lose $1 million. $1 million. So a lot of times I'm talking to somebody through my academy, and they're freaking out about what to do with money, and they're like, you know what? I don't know. This academy is quite expensive, and I'm like, I laugh in a sense, with all due respect, because the price you're going to pay to learn how to change your life with a 6-figure, 7-figure difference, it is a fraction, like a 0.00001% of that cost type of deal. And if you don't make those decisions and get in the market and start investing, you're going to lose, literally in this example, $1 million. Now think if this number was multiplied $500 turned to $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 a month, whatever your amounts are going to be when they increase from 500, that number is going to separate. You're going to make a bigger and bigger mistake the longer you wait. You cannot wait, and I'm dead serious when I say that. Do not wait. Do not be afraid to pay a professional. A professional is going to save your life drastically if you aren't familiar with how important time is. So Googling, trying to figure it out yourself is not smart. It's a really, really bad strategy. Being cheap and being frugal are two different things. Frugality is going to the store and not buying the Gucci shirt. It's buying this whatever the shirt, I don't even know where this is from. Literally my point. But being cheap is saying, I'm not going to pay for the help for the CPA. I'm not going to pay for the help from the advisor. I'm not going to pay the help from the wealth manager because I'm afraid to pay their fee. Although they'll help me 10, 12, 100, 1,000x on my returns, I'm not going to pay them because I don't want to. I don't know. I have trust issues. I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if I trust. All these types of excuses people throw out there. At the end of the day, guys, you're going to lose 6, 7 figures, and I'm going to show you right here how you do that or how you lose that. So do not wait on getting with a professional and making this work, or it's going to be extremely costly. The cost of waiting is extremely expensive. And I'm not the first one you can go do the math for yourself. This is just what I'm showing you. The other thing, guys, is if you're trying to jump in and out of the market because you think you're smarter than the market, if you miss the best 60 days, your $10,000 from 2001 to 2020 again would be $2.4 thousand. So you literally would lose money, most of that money. Just straight up lose it. So from an investment standpoint, you're literally just losing money. Not even staying even. Then factor inflation, what your real return is pretty scary. If you were fully invested from 2001 to 2020, you would have $10,000 to $42,000. That $10,000 would grow to $42,000 just if you stay fully invested with that $10,000. So the key is stay in the market, all back to the old adage of timing the market is better than timing the market. Stay invested for the long term. So that's an extremely important concept, guys. Another thing to people that want to learn how to build compound interest and how important this is and how fast you can build it. Let's look at an actual number here. So how long to each $100,000? So if you are investing $1,000 per month, okay, your first $100,000, assuming an 8% return, 8%, not 10%, would be 6.4 years. Your second $100,000 reduces to 4.2 years. Your third to 3.1, your fourth to 2.5, and your fifth to 2.1. You are reducing your time of building wealth exponentially. This is the power of starting early. This is the power of working with a professional from an education perspective, as well as a maybe controlling your assets in total to get to this point, to educate, and then maybe to take it back and learn how to do this, the rest of it. Because if you can't get here, the rest of this never even happens. You can just write this off. Well, everything down here is irrelevant because you can't get here. If you're constantly fighting bills, if you're constantly doing X, Y, and Z, you're never going to start with this. And how you manage $10, how you manage $100 is how you manage 100,000. It's how you manage $1 million. When we first started, guys, I was in $304,000 of debt in total. We did not have the net worth of where we are at today with the millionaire status. In 2016, I think it was, or 2015, I had a negative $7,000 net worth. I was broker when I was in 2015 than in 1991 when I was born. So literally, when I was born, I was richer than in 2015. That's crazy. I had a negative $7,000 net worth. But I changed everything. I educated. I became a professional at this. I decided to just change. And that's what you guys can do as well. It's just a decision. The best thing about this, guys, is once you get to $1 million, $1 million bucks, you have a 10% return in one given year, or let's say an 8% return, $100,000. Talk about replacing your income. Talk about changing careers. Talk about doing what you want. This is the power of good financial planning, guys. Getting to this millionaire mark, and then your money works for you. Your money begins to work for you immediately, but it starts to become significant. The average household income, guys, is I think $67,000 in America. If you have $1 million portfolio, and you're getting a 10% return per se, right? Obviously, we're talking about as to why that wouldn't be the case, or could not be the case. You're going to have $100,000 in return. That would literally pay for everything you're doing right now, plus some. So the goal, guys, is to obviously build, eventually your money will work for you, but you have to get through all these steps in education to get to this point. And this is where I'm sitting today, guys, as a result of the last 7 years. This did not come overnight. This took a lot of time and very consistent efforts that were detailed and planned out. You have to have a plan, like I always talk about. A lot of fear around the flat decade. So there's multiple flat decades in history before. The flat decade is nothing to be concerned about, and here's why. It is as long as there's volatility along the decade. So a lot of people are saying the next decade is going to be flat, meaning in 2022 and 2032, the stock market will be at the same level. However, to get from point A to point B, there's going to be a big ride. Sometimes we'll go up, sometimes we'll go down, but ultimately, here's an example of why this works, right? So if you're dollar cost averaging into low cost index funds that I talk about all the time, and you're diversifying, you're doing all these fundamental principles I talk about, here is what happens. From 1930 to 1954, it was a 0% real return. Zero. 1930 was the Great Depression era, 1929 time. All the way to 1954, zero. So most people would look at that, especially if you're a novice or you're brand new to investing, or I would never want to be invested for a 0% return. That sounds silly. However, volatility is where your best friend is. Volatility is a good thing. That's why I love this market right now and I'm buying so much. The rich are going to get richer. The poor are going to get poorer. It's just a decision of which way you want to go. So my approach during this time, when there was a 0% real return, would have gotten you 11% annualized returns. That's better than the 10% returns I'm kind of bashing in a sense, right? Or providing context for it is a better way to put that. 11% returns, fantastic. So if you guys want to build wealth, here's the blueprint. Literally I'm giving you everything. I'm giving you all my secrets. This is what you got to do. 1980 to 2014. Here's it for the stock pickers out there that think they're smarter than the world. Okay. Here is the stats and the facts behind the people that think they can play the market. Okay. So not only in trading, when you got to get in and out at the right time and all those kind of things, but let's just talk about individual stocks. So individual stocks, I hold one. I hold Meta. I love Meta as a decade-long play. I could be totally wrong, but I position it in my portfolio accordingly to how I feel about it and where I'm trying to have a big asymmetric risk-reward bet. If I was going for solid, sustainable dividend player, I would have gone Home Depot, or I would have gone something very consistent like JP Morgan or P&G or something like that. That was not my goal with Meta. I'm very consistent with my index funds through 95% of my portfolio. The other 5%, I play some games with. And I think when you build wealth, I didn't start this initially. When I first started, I didn't play games with my portfolio. Everything was straight to the book, by the book, for a long time. However, as you build wealth, as you hit millionaire status, as you grow within your financial knowledge, I think calculated bets are a really, really smart decision. And I think it's how some people get very rich very quickly. But that comes with a price to pay if you're not ready for it. So don't try to hit the lottery here. That's not the point. The point is get your foundation set. Once your foundation is set below you, take some huge swings, but not big enough to wipe you out. You don't want to get wiped out, but some big swings. And so that's what I did with my business in general. I quit my 9 to 5. I did all these things, but I built the foundation underneath me, and I prepared myself for these moments. Because I know if I went to zero from an income perspective, I would be set. I would still be okay. I would still be able to go find a job and have plenty of time on my side to go find the job I want. So when I quit Deloitte, I was there for 6 years and I was a manager. I decided to leave and do what I want. But I had to build the base before I could make that decision. I did not recklessly just say, YOLO, I'm going to take off and just do whatever I want. I really planned this out accordingly, and I help people do this all the time, to where if you want to leave your job, if you want to leave your career, it's not going to be an overnight thing. I'm not going to say, hey, I can make you day trading money in 2 weeks. That's not the case. If you're willing to sacrifice for the long term, 5, 10, 15 years, I can make it happen. I know I can, because I've done it myself, sitting right here speaking to you guys tonight. So back to the stocks, guys. 40% of stocks from 1980 to 2014 lose money. 40. 64% of stocks underperform. So 6 or 7 out of 10 picks that you're going to have underperform the market entirely. So just beating the market would be better. This is where the average investor comes into play. They're trying to do all these things. And from 1980 to 2014, only 7% of those stocks, so less than 1 out of 10 technically speaking, were accounting for all of the gains. It's really hard to beat the market, and it's really hard to pick the right stocks at the right time because businesses go in cycles. And to understand when those cycles occur, it's really hard because everyone wants to get on Apple's train, and everyone wants to get on Google's train, and everyone wants to get on Amazon's train. I'm not bashing any of those companies. I have no idea what the future holds. I just know what history tells me. And history tells me there's major turnover every 5 years. Every 5 years, the top 10 of the S&P flip-flop. They changed. A lot of turnover, a lot of differences. A lot of the names that you once saw are no longer there. GM is a great example of this. In 2000, GM was like the Apple of today. Everyone loved GM. GM was the godsend child. I kind of look at Apple, quite honestly, like that right now. And I could be totally wrong because of the moat they built. Again, this isn't here to debate that. The point is to prove that back every 5 years, there's a lot of turnover in the top 10 S&P 500 stocks. So to guess the right stocks to outperform the 10%, or let's just say the 8% that you're probably going to get as an investor, as an average market return investor, it's really hard. I don't know if I'd try it. I don't even know if it's worth it, because the thing is, remember back to this, is time and volatility and all these stats and facts here. You don't have to be crazy with returns. You don't have to get 3,000% returns like the day traders act like they are. You don't have to do that. You only have to get 8 to 10% and then focus on your contribution and focus on your time, and then that's all. I did a YouTube video, guys, showing different examples of how much time plays a role. And honestly, the person that doubled the returns, which is absolute insanity, I think I used an 8% return and a 16% return, but based on the time that the other individual had, the 8% return made more money long term because of compound interest, and they had a lot of time and contribution in the market. That's the core message I'm trying to get tonight to you guys, is like, don't worry about getting the biggest return or the 10% return. Focus on contribution, focus on return, focus on time, and focus on building a financial plan that suits you and your family. Once you do that, guys, the return piece of it's very, very simple. And it's all right here on the board tonight. So I hope that helped, guys. I'm going to flip this around and answer some questions. I'm going to get my chair, and I will do that. All right, let's see. So I hope that was a really good presentation, guys. It gave you guys some good insight into that. Again, every single Wednesday, I'm going to be doing presentations like this, Whiteboard Wednesday, and we're going to cover a lot of different topics. I only have 5 minutes. I have a Wealth Squad presentation. Any questions about today or Other things, I'm gonna scroll to the top and see what's good, man. What's up, man? See if there's any questions. I don't see many questions through here. Let me see. Excellent stuff. I see a lot of comments about the presentation. Looks like it was very good. I'm glad to hear that. I will speak, you know what, I'm not going to go into too many questions actually because I have limited time. I will speak on today's millionaire status. This was a long time coming. This was not overnight. This was not something I just decided to wake up and trade a few stocks and all of a sudden become a millionaire. This is a detailed financial plan that I talk about all the time. This is nothing new. I've been talking about it for 7 years. Well, in fact, online for about 3 years. And everything I talk about, guys, is I'm going to be getting a lot of DMs saying, "How'd you do it?" Which is, with all due respect, I get it. But at the end of the day, this is what I'm teaching every single day. I'm not hiding anything I'm doing. I'm not, holding the trick behind my back type deal. I'm showing you guys every step I take to millionaire status and beyond. And the key is not millionaire status. It's the compound interest that's going to come from millionaire status. So at 30 years old, guys, if you just assume your money doubles every 7 years based on a 10% return of 72 divided by 10. So let's say every 2 years my money doubles. You can do the math. At 30 years old, when this process, you've already built your base at such a young age, the compound interest is going to be multiple millions with time. There's no secret behind that. So the key is, like I said, time, contribution, as much time, as much contribution as you can possibly do. And to map out your financial goals to make sure that you align with anything you want to hit. It's just a matter of decision. And I think a lot of people think you have to be rich to build millionaire status. That's such a lie. That's such a lie. We didn't make a lot of money when we first started. We just figured out the financial plan that got us to what our goals were. And I think another thing is intention. So most people think you have to know all this stuff and all these things. You have to be like some secret guru and stuff to make a lot of money. The key is intention and determination. So when we decided was at 23 years old. We didn't decide before that. So we were just kind of running in limbo. We never really made a lot of progress. We just kind of sat around. We were making a decent income, but we weren't really doing great. There was some debt. There was obviously a lot of debt in the books at that time, but we weren't really doing much. Some money would kind of be inefficient, or money was very inefficient is the best way to put it. At this point in time and over the last 7 years, my money is the most efficient it's ever been. So every single time I get paid, that money is out of my bank account before I even know it. I don't even check of where my stuff goes at this point in time because I know where it goes. I could tell you every single move that happens in the month, but I do none of it. It's zero. It's no manual effort. Everything is automated to a T, exactly where it should be going. And that's how we did this in such a quick time, is we made sure our money worked for us very, very fast. And those are the things I put together with financial plans for people. For my Budget Dog Academy, we map this exactly out. Whatever your goals are, your goals could be, I don't care what your goals are. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's not about your goals. It's about aligning your money with whatever those are. And so using different tax diversification strategies, using different investment account strategies, you can get there. It's literally a decision. That's the coolest thing about it. Most people have this invisible blocker. I don't make enough money. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy enough. All these BS, made up excuses. And the thing is, if you decide to stop listening to the lie you're telling yourself, you're going to become a millionaire, you're going to become a multimillionaire, and you're going to build extreme wealth for your family. But some people are too lazy, some people don't care, some people are making up excuses. There's all sorts of excuses as to why they can't be, when in fact it should be the why they should be. And you got to, in fact, it's got to switch. It's the mindset. I always talk about that in all my webinars, all my things. It's got to start with the mindset. Once you switch that, the rest is really easy to get everything on paper. The educational component is not that hard. Money doubles every 7 years. So the rule of 72 is what I was using. I didn't mean to say 2. So let's just say 10%, 72 divided by 10 is 7.2 years. So your money's doubling every 7.2 years. If you're not invested properly, you could be the average investor at 3% returns and it could be horrible. Because in that fact, you would do 72 divided by 3, and that would be every 24 years about. You can make $1 million excuses, or you can make $1 million, 100%. I see so many excuses, guys, on a daily basis as to why somebody can't do something. And the thing is, when you decide mentally, I'm going to do it, If I put it on my whiteboard, I'm going to do it. I already know I am. So on my whiteboard, I'll show you in a second. I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it and I'm going to show you. So on the other side, we have some goals. And these goals are very big, but they're not anymore in my head because I know we're going to do it. First one, we're going to scale to 7 figures in the business. That's going to be done, 100%. Second one, my wife's not going to work. That's going to happen. I guarantee it. I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm saying that because I'm deciding. And that's a key difference, is being strong and confident in your word and your message. It's just the same thing as when I decided to become a CPA. I failed my CPA, guys, like 9 times. 9 times. But I became a CPA because I decided to, and I would not take no for an answer. That's the difference in your decision to become wealthy and your decision not to become wealthy. So if you decide, you will find a way. You will be determined enough and you will have enough intention that no matter what your situation is currently, you'll build wealth. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. If you guys need help, if you guys want to get there, I can help you guys. The academy is wide open, ready for people to come in there. So you have to DM me for that link, but let's get working, guys. If you want to build wealth, I'm here to help. But I need your mindset to shift before it happens. So appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you guys soon.